Hello everyone, and this is a new series I am doing called How to Write One Sentence, and basically what I'll be doing is taking different sentences and writing them in various different ways, and the purpose of this is to improve and personalize your writing style, and we'll do that by reorganizing words and information in the sentence, the grammar, the structure, all of that, to change the communication, the focus, and the style. So the communication is basically how it communicates to the reader. The focus is where the weight or emphasis is on in each sentence. And the style really just means what kind of environment these sentences are best suited in. So let's write this sentence 5 different ways. Weather is not trivial. It's especially important when you're standing in it. So let's look at the original sentence for a minute here. Weather is not trivial, dash, it's especially important when you're standing in it. So here, the first part of the sentence sounds like a setup for an argument. Weather is not trivial, and I'm about to tell you why. And the second half completes that argument. It's especially important when you're standing in it. The pause creates a dramatic, or I should say the dash creates a dramatic pause. And most of the weight is carried in the second half of the sentence. It's especially important when standing in it. And this style has an older but wiser feel. It's very reflective. It would work in journaling. It works well in blog posts. It works well if you have an older fictional character. And variation number 1, weather is not trivial, period. It's especially important when you're standing in it. This one, now that we've changed the dash to a period, it creates a full stop. This means that there are no longer connected ideas, but these are independent thoughts. So the focus rests on the first sentence. The weather is not trivial. This is my opening sentence. This is what I want to focus on. The second sentence is an independent thought that helps support the first sentence, but is not directly connected in the same way that the previous sentence was. And this is just matter of fact. You can use this in any sort of environment. It should work pretty well. The next sentence, weather is not trivial, ellipses. It's especially important when you're standing in it, or ellipsis, I believe, is the actual correct word. Ellipses is the plural. I don't know. It's confusing. Anyways, moving on, communication, when you change the period to an ellipsis is 1, I guess, you get a fade out instead of a pause. And the focus of the sentence falls oddly on the fade, so this way it balances the weight between the first and second halves of the sentence. And this one is reflective and thoughtful, so this is also very good for journal entries or memoirs or something along those lines. Variation number 3, the weather is not trivial when you are standing in it. So this time we took out the separational pieces. We took out the dash, we took out the period, we took out everything there is in there, and we just made it a factual statement about when the weather is not trivial. So this is just one instance. Weather is not trivial when you are standing in it. It's balanced. It reads as one uninterrupted thought. And the style is just very factual. Now, variation number 4, the weather is not trivial, especially when you are standing in it. So we put the especially back in, and we changed this to a comma to separate them instead of a period or dash or ellipsis. This means that it creates a short pause, and the weight is in the second half of the sentence once again. And this is just very conversational. This works well with any sort of dialogue. This works in pretty much any environment. There's nothing especially formal or especially casual about it, either way. And the next variation, variation number 5, the weather is especially important when you are standing in it. So this one, we took out the not trivial piece. It makes it less literary and more colloquial. It makes it more conversational. It makes it better for dialogue or just a friendlier tone piece. And the weight settles more or less in the middle, oddly enough, with the words especially important when you. That'll stick with the reader the most, actually. And it's very casual, very friendly. And the last variation I have, the weather, dash, when you are standing in it, especially dash, is not trivial. So This one, the double dashed interjection, means we want to say the weather is not trivial. So that's our full sentence. The weather is not trivial. That's the sentence we want to say. But we're interrupting our first sentence with a second sentence when you are standing in it, especially. So the rule is that if you take out the dashes, you should still have a full sentence. You could probably put, what are they called? You can put parentheses. Okay, I just stared at it for like 5 hours to remember what it's called. Parentheses. You can use parentheses in the same way. Parentheses makes it a side note. This also makes it a side note, but parentheses makes it more of like a whispering side note. So the weather, especially when you're standing in it, is not trivial. So that would be a parentheses type feel. If you're not sure which one's parentheses, that's the 9 and 0 key on your keyboard. And the focus will land on the secondary thought that interrupts the first thought when you are standing in it, especially. That's what's going to stick out. So if you're going to use a secondary thought that interrupts the first thought, make it a very important thought. And the style is matter of fact, but still kind of narrative, because it sounds like someone's telling you a story and they're interrupting their own story to explain another side story to you. All right, so this has been 7 ways to write this one sentence. If you can think of some other ways, go ahead and put those in the comments. If you have any other sentences you want me to look at, go ahead and write those in the comments as well, and we'll try our hand at writing them in a bunch of different ways. And like and subscribe if this was helpful whatsoever. I will be seeing you in the next installment of this series. Catch you guys later.